even like I used to like hold on to submissions, and now I don't. I use submissions as if I don't get the submission fairly quick, I don't dwell on it. It's a lot of people read. I just go from position. I sweep. I usually sweep into the dominant position and then restart and hold another attack.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick second, because that's one thing. I think we've mentioned it multiple times. But speaking of progressing in jiu-jitsu faster, stop holding on to submissions too long, or even if you are fighting for dear life to hold a position, just let it go, because you're wasting your energy, right? And that's something I know I used to do. Like, I used to fight to keep people in side control when really I should have just transitioned to something else. And I remember talking to a buddy of mine from work, and he was talking about, like, hey man, what happened? Like, he's doing gi, so this is a bit of a different example, but it's the same concept, right? I'm in gi, and I'm holding on. He 2-for-1's my hand, and I'm holding on, and he rips it off, and then I'm like, why don't you just let it go? He's like, what? Like, you're holding on for dear life. I mean, if it's sunk around the back of his neck, he's not going to be able to 2-for-1 it. But if you're just holding on to the front lapel, trying to set something up, and he's just hand fighting you, you know what's so much easier than like trying to grip on for dear life? Let it go. Put it back. Let it go. Put it back. Now he's wasting time screwing with your hand, right? When you have a whole other free hand over here because he's 2-for-1ing you to set up something else. So stop wasting time and energy trying to hold on to something that he's obviously going to win. Welcome to the Oldhammer Podcast, where life meets nuts. My name is Sam. As always, I'm here with Gordon. What's up, Gordon?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
You know,
good. How are you?
It's good. I'm all right. It's freezing cold here, as you know. We're both in Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's a snow day.
Yeah, it's minus 14, and wind chill is minus 23. It feels like minus 23.
Yeah. So to those of our American folks, that's like 30. I think it's real fucking cold. It's so you know, just got the heaters on, staying warm with the hoodie. You've got your Oldhammer sweatshirt on.
I still haven't given yours because we didn't meet up.
Yeah,
like mine.
That is something we need to change, because we should meet up in drill or something sometime soon. But,
for sure.
But in any case, I know I've had a little bit of time off this week. I did roll a couple times, more than a couple times last week.
Yeah.
But, things went south on me, but I think here today we're actually sort of going to talk about that. Rolling, training, finding your path, and maybe some tips on how to move your jiu-jitsu along quickly. Or,
Sure.
yeah. What are your thoughts?
I guess that was a lot there. But is that what we're going to talk about? Like how to, at least the way that we feel, like how to accelerate.
Since coming back to jiu-jitsu, we've talked about sort of how we changed our mindset and how we're absorbing the gentle art, as they say. But with that, there comes a time where you sort of have to figure out your style. You have to sort of figure out some, I guess, I don't want to say hacks, but habits, let's say, on how to accelerate your jiu-jitsu to progress properly, because there's just too much information. You're not going to be good at everything, right? But you can be good at something. So that's kind of what I was thinking, and that I think is starting to show. I know it's starting to show for me when I roll, and my intentions when I roll, and I think that's you were talking about me earlier today.
Yeah. I know for me personally, like before, I think we touched on this in the more than one podcast. Jiu-jitsu before was like a collection of moves. There was one move, one armbar from guard, one armbar from here, Kimura, sweep this. It just, then I think eventually when people who got to a higher level, like purple belt, brown belt, black belt, whatever, maybe until they become a black belt, there was like nothing conceptual. I know it's a word in the jiu-jitsu community because it's thrown around these days. Like, what's the concepts, the conceptual way of like learning, cool ecological things, so on and so forth. But I think, regardless of all those things, like today or even before, even especially now, there's so much information out there. You have this like buffet of techniques, and sometimes that can be really overwhelming. So usually, I think the best way is to pick one thing to work on. And I don't mean like one move, I'm not talking one technique. I mean like the whole system. And what I mean by that, for me personally, front headlock stuff, and it's something I enjoy. I will say this: if you choose something you enjoy, I think it's very obvious that you will dive into it a lot more. Like you can go the other way and just be like, okay, I absolutely hate doing guard retention, but I know it's a massive weakness. You can go that way. But like personally, I don't think that's the right way to do it. It will be really hard to maintain that. So pick something you enjoy, and let's get positive feedback. And for me personally, it's the front, like any front headlock stuff. So for me, it was the guillotine. And I was like, okay, and I got really obsessed with the guillotine and how to apply the different variations of the guillotine over and over again. And then what happens if I fail the guillotine? Okay, I'll sweep them over, and then from there, I'll set up a dart. If the dart fails, as long as I still have their chin, I'll turn them over, flatten their shoulders up, get to kesikatami, and then go for like a scarf choke, whatever it is, right? And then you save that system. And I think there's a couple guys that have touched on it, like mid-level guys, like Joseph Chen, and he talked about the smaller circle. And it's a concept of the system that you're trying to get better at. It becomes a smaller circle. So basically, it's a closed loop system, and you got all these moves that just feed into each other. You never take steps back. You would go to move to position, but you're always progressing, right? And it's a closed loop system. And then as you get more efficient within that closed loop system, the circle becomes smaller and smaller. So that's what I think is best way for me personally to better at Jiu-Jitsu now. And it's worked wonders for me instead of coming back and just doing random moves and whatnot. And it's basically being like very specific what you want to learn. And as you grow like your general Jiu-Jitsu skills, which you should do anyways, you should choose one thing to be like expert in, and then just run with that. And then you grow everything else. Everything grows slower, but that one specific thing becomes your bread and butter. And it doesn't have to be like all the way to black belt. I think it's a really good way to force people to play your game. Now they know, okay, if I get Gordon gets me a front headlock, he's going to run that system on me, and I'm just going to be here defending the whole fucking time. I'm not going to want that. So it kind of puts like not so much fear, or maybe fear or intimidation, whatever word you want to use, into them, and they will defend it. Hopefully they get better at defending it. So then you'll get better at defending it. Like it'll get to a point where they get so good that the whole system can be something you rely on. Then you have to go to something else that you like, that you haven't really been working on, and you just do the same thing over and over again. And in that way, all those skills will eventually even out. But in order to progress, it's like I want to learn everything about Jiu-Jitsu. I want to be super good in guard, specific guard. It's like X guard, butterfly guard, El Hiva guard, whatever guard it is. And then I want to be great on top. I want to be great guard passer. All this stuff. It's really overwhelming because there's 100,000 techniques in Jiu-Jitsu. It's not a joke. There's like so many ways to do a body lock pass, so many ways to do a knee cut, so many ways to set this up and to attack this guard. And next thing you know, you're so overwhelmed. I know I was. When I came out to Jiu-Jitsu, I was like, oh my god, I know nothing. It was really, I told you, it was so brutal because we got all these instructionals, and it's like, which one do I watch? I'm just jumping from instructional to instructional, and I'm just like getting lost.
I think for two things, like if you're just starting jiu-jitsu at an older age, let's say, let's do the older age first. We've mentioned this before. There is so much that you need to sort of like while you're starting your journey, if you're just a white belt, just absorb the different positions, right? And people have talked about this. You've talked about this too. It's like they say you don't find your style until you're a purple belt, right? That's not exactly true. No, it's kind of a misnomer because what it is you need to learn sort of the different styles in the different areas in general, so you can start honing in on one. And it's usually, I guess, not until purple belt where you're kind of now I'm focused on X guard. Say that's the place I want to be, right? Or if you have a half guard system, or you with front headlock, right? Like where is your preferred place to be? Now you found that. Now it's refining it through purple belt, but like you still have to be cognizant of the other positions because people are going to run those against you, right? So as a white belt, you want to sort of be open to seeing all the different options within reason because there's some crazy shit out there, right? So the basics position, what's side mount, what's full mount, what's taking the back, What are the things that you add to that? Okay, where do I want to be? Right? That's when you start to ask the question, where do I want to be in relation to my opponent, right? Now I can start learning some escapes so that I can get to that position. Okay, now that I'm in that position, now I can learn how to lock it up. Great. Now you're a blue belt all of a sudden because you learned a few escapes. You learned some positions. You learn how to lock it up. Okay, now I'm going to start working on some submissions, and you start working through that process. And then you start working a system, and once you start working a system, all of a sudden you're a purple belt, right? Because now you're working that system. And the thing is, as long as you're working in that vein, if you go to class, you're going to, the instructor, professor, coach, whatever, they're probably going to show you some escape from, you know, somebody takes your back, right? Like, just by being in the class, they're going to show you something. But when you go to roll or do your positionals, that's when you can start thinking, okay, where do I want to be? What do I want to, position do I want to be in? How do I get there? What are the things I've learned? How do I progress and create a system in my brain where there's sort of a default? And yeah, you got to be adaptable because somebody's going to come up with some strains every once in a while. You roll with enough people, you're going to encounter other things. But at least you can rely on that base, and you can practice that base to get better at what you're doing, right? And I think that's right. You're going to start to learn to progress. So the first couple stripes of white belt, you're going to just be like, I don't know what's going on, right? And then you start to figure out, you know, like I like taking the back. That's what I like to do. It's one of my favorite. I like the back. I like the front headlock, right? You and I like the front headlock. It's a good place to be for either of us. I like taking the back, right? So those are two things that I like to work on. How can I do a pass by, right? Even if we're standing. If we're standing and he goes to a 4-point, how can I take his back before I break him down, right? Things like that. You start learning those different things and implementing in the system. Okay, so let's say we're starting standing. Okay, I either got to do a pass by to a body lock, or I basically got to get him in a turtle somehow. Okay, now that I've got him in one of those positions, how do I break him down? Good, now I've taken it back. Okay, now that I've taken it back, what are the solutions I want to try to set up? Well, first, before we even get there, how do I control him? Well, we know just crossing your legs and no gi, that's a bad idea. Okay, so how do I go to it? For me, it's like, how do I go to a body triangle? But I got short legs. So how do I go to a modified body triangle to control the person and then start working hand fighting to control the arm? Okay, now I'm slow. Because that's my system right now. We're going to start with hips. We're going to move up towards the neck. And if the neck fails, then we have a couple other things to go into a rear leg triangle or an armbar from there, right? So I've started a system where moving up the back, right? Now start with your hips, you move up the back to the neck. The goal is to get a rear naked choke, but if you can't get a rear naked choke, something goes weird, the guy's stupid strong. Okay, how do I modify that into a rear triangle? How does that, if that goes wrong, how do I switch that into an armbar? Okay, if that goes wrong, how do I go back to the back and start again, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm talking about. And that's something that's hard to think about when you're a white belt. But I think that's something that back in our day, now to talk about the younger people, back in our day, we didn't understand any of that. And the black belts slowly figured that out because that's their bread and butter system, right? Yeah,
I just think people are big. Yeah, I don't even think they were even how to explain that to us. They just kind of like did what they like all the time, and were good. Obviously, they're good at what they like, and then just kept doing it. And they couldn't express it to us. So we're like, like how do I do it? It was that wasn't the system. It's like we like doing this all the time. All these collection moves that feed into each other. And that was it. I'm like, okay, like we're like. That's not me. Like, it wasn't explained to us.
One thing I would caution anybody against, though, or maybe about, is you can figure out what you like. You can also figure out what you're good at, and those two things might not match in your mind right away. Right?
Yeah.
You're like, well, I really like full guard arm bars. Okay, but maybe you're not good in full guard. Maybe you don't have long legs. Maybe you don't have flexible legs. I don't know, for some reason. Does that mean you have to give up on an arm bar? No. Why don't you figure out what you're good at, what position you're good in, right?
Yeah.
So, there's my wisdom.
Yeah, I think that's really rare to be, like, in Jiu-Jitsu. You get punished for what, like, you get punished really quickly for doing something inefficiently. Like, for example, if I suck at, like, butt headlocks, I think I don't, being a side mount catching katami, if I just get swept all the fucking time, it becomes really unenjoyable. It's like, okay, it's not because I'm putting myself in that position. Once in a while, I get fucked up because like, the guy's really good. And there's no progression for that. I'm just getting messed up. Then like maybe for now, let's find something else. You know, even with lots of help, you're getting help from your teammates or the instructor, and it's like it's just not clicking. maybe like find something else. And then you cannot just like one thing. Pretty sure. Like,
you need some different tools in the toolbox. I guess what just to clarify a little bit is what I'm saying is you can find things you like. There's so many videos online. And I feel like a lot of people watch a lot of different videos, watch a lot of good practitioners play and all that stuff. And you maybe find something online that you're like, oh, I really like that. I really like that move. But maybe that's not part of a system that works for you, right? So that's really what I'm cautioning you about. Not if you've been rolling and you're doing front headlocks and you keep getting like somehow they single leg take you down or double you or spit out and take you back or do it. Well, maybe you shouldn't be doing front headlocks, right? You'll figure that out pretty fucking quick, right? Assuming that you're rolling at a commensurate level and you're not going against somebody 2 belts higher than you and they're just destroying you. Yeah. That's we've talked about that too. Like that doesn't help you learn. That's sort of like roll with the higher belts a little bit to get a feeling of what that's like, but also don't forget to practice on the lower belts. Or
you have to practice. Like once you get to a certain level, definitely need to have those grappling dummy partners. It's not disrespectful. It's like triple belts, brown belts practice on us, but it's blue belts too. Like it's a fact of life. It's like
the worst feeling is when a purple or brown belt just sort of sits there and is like, "Come on,
let's see pass."
And you're like, "Oh,
let me pass."
Okay. And then something's happening. You're just defending. Like, how am I losing when I'm on shit?
Not that seriously. I have a pretty good teammate, and he's good. He's a little bit better than me. I wouldn't say a little bit. I think he's just better than me, and he's going to be developed pretty soon. And I got him where I wanted. Got in the front headlock position, and he knows. I think the last 2 times he rolled, I was able to control him there really well. And this time he wasn't fucking around. Like once I got there, he's like, "Fuck this!" Like he started yelling quick, and that's a good thing. It's because that's a testament to like what you're doing, what you really like to do. Is like, okay, there's a sense of urgency with the car or something. It's like, I kind of go with me a lot because I know what's going to happen. He's going to 2-on-1 my arm that's trapped, and then even if he doesn't get the guillotine, he's going to sweep you, gets up top, and it sucks. He's just going to stay there the whole time, And then he might mount me. Because now I like mount before I did like mount. Now arm triangle, like everyone I can get a hold of. I can't arm triangle, then I'll just grab you and get off, and then I'll try taking you back. Still suck at that. So you see, I'm still working on this. See where eventually I'll get to the back. Yeah, but then it's like, but I get to the back the way I want. I usually do the Kimura trap, and then gift wrap them, and then I just drag the head arm across, and then they're like on their side, and I roll them over. So I'm getting to the back the way I want to.
I like if I
do on timeout and this one there.
I actually like switching to the side and then just power heaving that head and taking the back. I've
been doing a lot of when they turn into me or turn away from me. I just flip their head now and just like pin their heads to the floor, and then I do like a quarter Nelson or half Nelson on them, and then they try getting up, but the head is pinned to the floor, and I just go back to the go over to the front headlock, just sink it in again. It's like
The one that I kept telling somebody, and because I was rolling with him, and he kept putting me in the front headlock, and I would just spin out, or I'd go. I actually wheeled into half guard once and rolled him, and every time I was like, after we rolled, I was like, "Why didn't you grab my chin?" And he goes, "What?" I'm like, "You have me in the front headlock, but my head's just doing whatever the hell it wants. It's partying down in here. Grab my chin." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, grab right here. If you can't get the other arm in because I'm defending, just you don't have to grab it hard. You don't have to wrench it around. But you're letting me have a full-on head metal banging session in here, and I can do what I want. So stop it. Just grab the chin.
Yeah, come on. But that was a game changer for me. I know it sounds so simple now. Not that we do it, and it's like innate. We don't even think about it. But man, it's been great. Force the chin to go all the way, and then crush the ball, turn the body the other way, and just keep it there.
Well, even if you grab the chin, if you go for that front headlock guillotine, even arm in, at that point you can just do the lazy arm, and just it's right there, right?
I don't even I used to hold on to submissions, and now I don't. I use submissions as if I don't get the submission fairly quick, I don't dwell on it. I just go from position. I sweep. I usually sweep into the dominant position and then restart and hold another attack.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick sec, because that's one thing. I think we've mentioned it multiple times. But speaking of progressing your jiu-jitsu faster, stop holding on to submissions too long, or even if you are fighting for dear life to hold a position, just let it go, because you're wasting your energy, right? And that's something I never used to do. Like, I used to fight to keep people in side control when really I should have just transitioned to something else. And I remember talking to a buddy of mine from work, and he was talking about, like, hey man, what happened? Like, he's doing gi, so this is a bit of a different example, but it's the same concept, right? I'm in gi and I'm holding on. He 2-for-1s my hand, and I'm holding on, and he rips it off, and then I'm like, why don't you just let it go? He's like, what? Like, you're holding on for dear life. I mean, if it's sunk around the back of his neck, he's not going to be able to 2-for-1 it. But if you're just holding on to the front lapel, trying to set something up, and he's just hand fighting you, you know what's so much easier than trying to grip on for dear life? Let it go. Put it back. Let it go. Put it back. Now he's wasting time screwing with your hand, right? When you have a whole other free hand over here because he's 2-for-1 you to set up something else. So stop wasting time and energy trying to hold on to something that he's obviously going to win, right?
And I think that stems from, because you learn all these moves and you're throwing the technique, and it's like, obviously when the instructor shows you, it's like, it's successful, obviously, and even when you drill, it's like a static drill, right? Yeah. So like you're meant to win, or like the submission or whatever it is. It's like there's an ending, there's a beginning to end. It's like success. But when you're rolling, it's like, okay, I got this guy in armbar or whatever it is. It's like, this really sucks now because like this is, where's the end? Like I'm supposed to get him this submission, and he like his arms almost out, but his fingertips are holding on. And then obviously there's ways to break the grip and whatnot, but then you're not really thinking about that because you're just thinking this submission is the end all and be all. It's supposed to work. It's like you're playing video games, like I press A, B, or up, down. It's like it doesn't move. It doesn't work that way. And then once you realize that, especially in Nogi, you don't got that much time to think. It's like, do what you need to do the moves, do the technique. If it doesn't work, readjust, go on to something else. And then once you find and realize that, Jiu-Jitsu becomes a lot more fun. It becomes less like jerky. It becomes less like super tight. So now I take my favorite thing is to do submissions that allow me to have control if I fail. So I like front headlock. And I think that's the best way to go about. That's not the best way, but I personally think it's the best way to I guess, fall in love or whatever, to be enamored by moves. A lot of people get enamored by single individual moves, but then there's no flow to the next thing if it fails, right? For me, personally, it's I do something, if I fail, how can I turn this into a control position? And if you're controlling someone's head, then you can really go to the next thing, the next position, a dominant position. You're never going back.
It's not so much as changing your thinking of, like, how do I turn defeat into victory? A little bit with that. How can I turn failure into success? But it's like letting go of what I would call the Pyrrhic victories. So that's when it costs you just as much to win as it like the win isn't worth it because it costs you so much effort to get said win that now everything's destroyed, right? It's letting go of that mindset of, well, like just like you said, holding on to that submission while it's supposed to work, but it's not for you right now because there's Jiu-Jitsu is all about, well, it's not all about, there's a lot of other things, but a good point is finesse and little adjustments to get you in the right spot. Like when I was rolling up in Yellowknife, when I gift wrapped the guy, he was brown belt, and he just told me, like, when you did it, you just needed to pull up a little harder in my head, and I would have been stuck. Like, I went from here to here, and that's a whole different world, right? So it's just it's that little difference. So if something isn't working for you at that particular moment, have a plan to go to a more dominant position, and that's how you're going to progress your jiu-jitsu. Because if you do get that armbar, maybe that guy's just really good at defending armbars, or maybe your butt wasn't close enough under his thing, maybe you forgot to pinch your knees. For whatever reason, he's not tapping. Let it go. It's okay. Yeah,
sure. I think you touched on it like earlier, was that a lot of people, including us, like when we started Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, it's like the whole thing, when you become a blue belt, you really find out who you are as, like, the style of Jiu-Jitsu you want to use to become, like, as an expert, what you, I guess, will be known for. It's not a style you have to stay with forever, but you have, you kind of just tend to be good at jiu-jitsu in general. Like, there needs to be something that people kind of associate yourself with. It's like, wow, this guy does an amazing half guard, and whatever style half guard it may be, it's like, I do not want to be there. And they know that about you, so you build your style around that. There's a bit of reputation in club, or even if you don't compete in class, they know that that's not the place I want to be against so and so. But what people don't understand is, like, they think that once I get that purple belt, I'm going to magically kind of figure out. It's not really. The reason why you get your purple belt is because you became that guy. That's why it got you from blue belt to purple belt. It's because you found your style and you became really good at it. You're dangerous, and it's like, and your general jiu-jitsu skill is obviously like up to par as well. But this one specific thing, like, you created like a system, and then you're giving your purple belt. It's like, okay, he understands the basics of jiu-jitsu fairly well, but that's this one thing or a couple things that he's extremely good at. Not one move, real system.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's that thing. It's not a collection of moves. It's like you're trying to create multiple systems for every position you get, even from escapes. Like, okay, I'm on bottom time. How do I get out of this? You know, when you create a system to, like, you can get out of it. Basically, every time, this is what you're using. And then that's what you're kind of known for. Obviously, you adapt to it, you add more skills to it, you refine it. And like the circle thing, the circle theory, I talk about it. The circle gets smaller. You become more efficient.
What one way you can think about it is, like, you can break it down into two groupings. Like, there's the top positions and there's the bottom positions. Okay, of the top and bottom positions, which ones complement me the best for what I want to do? How do I link those together with the series of moves to go from one to the other and back and forth? And then obviously there's all the other ones that exist, right? But these are the ones that I'm going to be focused on. These are the ones I want to get to and move through. And you eventually become that person. And by the time you're a purple belt, you'll probably know some of the stuff that's out here, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you'll know some of the weird theory things about other stuff. But if it's like, if this is your vein, your skill tree, let's call it.
Yeah, just like a video game.
Practice down there, and you'll start refining those skills. And before you know it, you'll be a different person. You'll be a different challenge. And people will be like, I don't want to get in his front headlock, so I'm going to try to put him on side mount. But you've already thought, well, here's my two escape options that I like to do in side mount, and they both get me back to a front headlock position. You know, in 2-3 steps, suddenly I'm back in the front.
It's a closed loop, just like over and over. And then that's how. And then obviously you refine. You take out certain things. Like, I'm still working on my dart show. I use a darts as a threat. I get it once in a while, but I'm still working on it. I just have a hard time feeding that hand through. But when I do I do slap it on. Chances are I'm not getting it, but I force them to defend it, and I'll just run around and take their back. And then now they're like on the, they're still inside mount, but their backs are exposed, and I'm like, okay, I love this too. So like that's what I've been working on. And you're going to keep hearing me talk about front headlocks and stuff like that a long time.
I don't.
Until I find something else to do.
I don't do a lot of darts jokes, but I do like the guillotine, and I do like I like taking the back. So if I get you in a front headlock, my goal usually is to threaten with the guillotine for you to defend, so I can switch out the far side and hammerlock you back, so I can take your back and set up that body.
You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about me taking your back too much. Even though it's like one of the best positions, I will get there because I will add it to my system. But man, I'll make your life miserable. I'll keep you. It's pretty. When I'm feeling particularly like I do not want to try as much as I need to me, like I will keep you in like kesikatame and keep you in the scarf choke for a long time, where I grab my own thigh and just like crunch your head. Dude, I'll look at the clock and I'll keep you there for a minute, and you're just like, I'm not going to submit you because it's tight, but I haven't got it locked up enough, and I kind of wait for them to slip up, and I'll just go around and I'll do like reverse kesikatame, and I'll threaten the guillotine from there too. So like, and even when I take when someone's controlled up, pretend to take their back, and then I will switch into a guillotine. I'll sit back and right take guillotine. So bad. And it's like, and then I will like do the garbage guard. You know when you know what I'm talking about when you have your inside leg, the same side where you have. Yeah, I won't go to half guard. I'll go to garbage guard where I block your hips. Like, and I'll sweep you over, and back to fucking side mount. or mount. Once it gets you mount, I just keep the head there, like a one-arm guillotine. And if I'll try to go for it. If I can't go for it, usually they start defending, and then I'll walk my hand across, and then I'll get them in an arm triangle. Can't get that, to jump off, gift wrap. But that's when my game is on fire. Then I go against like purple belt, 4-stripe blue. I'm like, oh my god, this is not working today. Fuck you.
Yeah, no. If I'm watching the clock because I'm tired, that's side mount for me. Just grab that head and just put all my weight on your face, and I'm just gonna take a breather here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, I know.
That's the old guy jiu-jitsu. The clock is your friend.
Yeah.
I camp now. You know the whole concept of camping.
I'll do that in half guard. Actually, I'll camp in half guard. I'll just ball up real tight under especially if I'm gonna get a higher belt. I'll just get that half guard and be like, no, I'm just gonna hang out here. Just gonna hang out right here, all balled up, and just watch that clock. Okay, 30 seconds left. Okay, escape.
I mean like camp in like when you're on top and in top row positions. You know when you get to the J point and the guards open, their half guard is like open, but you got their hand on their hip, your head's on their hip as well. You're like tripoding, right? And they're kind of like their half guard's like way open. I just camp there and just basically let them play off push on frames. I'll just play off the frames, and when I pass, say I get them a Pesek Katame, I'll just keep them there with the head and arm and make them uncomfortable. And I know I'm not going to get the submission too. I do the smother choke like a motherfucker because every big guy does it to me.
Mother's milk.
And I smother you. I'll just smother choking what's the other word? What's the other name for the smother choke?
Mother's milk.
It's like mother's milk your ass, man. I don't give a shit. I told Joyce about that.
I think that's the funniest name for it. But I do that too. When I get mounted, what's this?
I use it recklessly, especially with a spazzy white belt.
You got to though. Especially if you get a bit of a higher. You get a bit of a higher mount, and then you just put that belly. For me, it's the belly. You just put your gut like right on top of their face. You're just like,
Yeah, and
their
legs you cradle their head. You cradle the head into it. What happened to me today?
You feel the legs. Yeah.
Oh, I was rolling today, and then I was rolling with. He's really good, super strong, and he put his wet rash guard on my face, like he waterboarded.
Oh yeah.
I'm just I can't breathe. I'm fighting for my life.
If you have just to I talked about one guy. I haven't seen him in a bit, but I called him the Bull because he's taller than me, but he was at least as big. Yeah, I call him the Bull. He's got hands, just these meat paws that are like that, and he's longer, but he's at least as big and heavy as me. And he tried to do that to me once, but I got a big bench, so I just grabbed his hips, and I was like, "Fuck off!" And it took all my effort. I'm like, "No, just get off my face." It was totally there was no skill involved. It was all just gross.
It's brutal, man.
Yeah.
I had to do the kipping, the kipping.
Hump to freedom.
I tried that. That didn't work, so I crossed my legs and did the swirl one.
The swirl one.
Yeah, and then I blast off. I was like, "Oh my god!" It was like, "You bastard." Yeah. It's brutal because I don't know what's happened about it, right? Because it's not like you're not going to die or you're pass out. But you're not. It's not a joint lock. But I'm not down. I know that. You go you give me in a joint lock. It's almost there. If I can't get out, I'll tap. Because there's no point. I'm there to get better, not to be crippled.
Yeah.
And then and chokes too. I'm trying to get out of a rear naked choke. I'll fight it off and it's sunk in deep.
There's a weird part with certain locks and chokes where you're still fighting, but you realize you've lost.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I'm still fighting, but I'm totally screwed. Oh no.
Well, those taps are the best. It's like they know it too. It's like you're fighting, and suddenly you kind of let go, and it sinks in deeper. You're just like, you know how to tap 3 times. You go tap. I just count once. They just let go. It's like they know. It's like They give me a heel hook. I'm just like, let go. Come on, buddy. I'm not getting out of this.
We were doing positional roll, and I did that to a black belt that I was. We were practicing on the back, so he had my back, and then I defended the choke, and and he went to an armbar, and I was just like, no.
Oh man,
no.
Yeah. The thing.
And the funniest thing is he did say, "Was that a tap?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, that was." Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And for older people listening, you're old, man, and that's no shame in it. You should be really proud that you're doing this very hard sport at this late in life. And once your body gets used to it, even when your body is super efficient, you're going to get injured. So this is a high injury rate sport. There's no doubt about it. Like ACL surgeries are like the number one injury in the sport.
It is.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think you should like if you come in with any sort of ego, even when you're young and you're super strong, explosive, athletic, you will. Chances are you're going to get hurt bad. Like even the most gifted guys need to check their egos because there will be another guy who is equally as athletic, gifted, and is the mat enforcer, and you might not go home with functioning limbs. So, and then as older gentlemen, like or lady, like you need to make sure that you need to preserve your bodies. If you're here to why are you doing jiu-jitsu at 40-something years old or 50-something years old? It's because you like it and not because you think you're like a super tough guy. Jiu-jitsu can make you very tough, but you can also make you crippled. So you're not so. You're not so tough when you're crippled.
What was that? There's a Simpson quote from Dr. Hibbert. Homer like fell off a cliff or something, and he's like, and Homer's like, "What doesn't kill you makes you strong?" And he goes, "Haha, no, it's made you weak as a kitten. I could just keep poking you."
Yeah, true. Yeah. That's jiu-jitsu.
Like, yeah,
dude, when I tore my bicep, dude, it sucked. I couldn't. It was like it sucked. Like it was terrible. I hated it. Couldn't do anything. But yeah, like don't have that ego.
The thing I was going to mention is, and this could be a confirmation bias for me or something like that. I've seen a lot more social media posts and be like, "Hey, I'm 45 and just got my first stripe on my white belt." I'm like, "Holy shit!" There's a lot of people who are getting who are past 40 or getting up there. Like some people in their 50s, like just got my black belt. Been doing this for 12 years. I'm like, wow. You started and you stuck with it. That is an accomplishment. Like even just starting. If you're like us and you started when you were younger and then you come back, I think that is more common personally.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of easier. You sort of know what to expect. You probably checked your ego and you're getting back into it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the people who just start raw at like 45 and they're like, I just started jiu-jitsu. It's like, woo, good for you, son.
Yeah. Even like they have no athletic background. And now they're in their 40s or 50s. I'm like, holy shit, you know how either they're completely ignorant, which is high probability, or they are so, like, they're so humble. They're just like, truly, like, I'm just here to learn. I know this is a dangerous sport, and, I'm going to do it anyways. I find, like, I'm not that humble. Like, I obviously have a certain, like, level I want to get at in a certain time frame. But I'm also very confident because I've already been I was a part of this sport. I understand this culture. And it was a lot rougher when we were starting.
It's true. A lot less forgiving.
We were training at Hell's Angels and stuff like that, and
yeah,
unsafe people. Not that they were bad people to train with. They just at that time it was not so much because I think it's over people from a different time period. But there were some rough characters that were doing jiu-jitsu back then.
Is I think over the past few years, 5 to 10, maybe not quite 10. Jiu-Jitsu's kind of gone through what CrossFit went through. Obviously, Jiu-Jitsu's been around a lot longer than CrossFit, but in that popularization,
yes,
it's kind of gone like CrossFit. I'm not going to shit on CrossFit; it's a good workout system, but they went through a lot of growing pains where they grew. Because realistically, CrossFit is just an amalgamation about like 3 or 4 different workout styles, and then they put the AMRAP basically on top of it for time. And so realistically they took some stuff from wrestling, took some stuff from Olympic lifting, took some stuff from calisthenics, and they smashed it together to create the system. But then they popularized it, right? They went through that explosion of popularity. A lot of people started CrossFit gyms. A lot of people didn't know the instructor of the CrossFit gym. People started getting rhabdo and shit like that because they didn't know how to train, and broken whatevers, clavicles and shit from not knowing how to do the Olympic lifts. But they got past that. They kind of got past that phase, and then it exploded in popularity, and it kind of became this household name of a workout system, right? I think Jiu-Jitsu's kind of gone through that in a similar function. Like back before, Jiu-Jitsu practitioners were in the UFC, there was like, Jiu-Jitsu, what's that? Unless you were from a country where that type of martial sport has been in existence for a long time.
Yeah. It was a niche sport, man.
It was a niche sport. Yeah.
Now when you see jiu-jitsu, people are like, oh yeah, that round stuff, the hugging stuff,
grappling.
submission. Well, I mean, like even now, there's like, oh, jiu-jitsu, they know, but like before, like I wouldn't even tell people about jiu-jitsu. I was like, wrestling. They're like, oh yeah, because they know it's like how it, that's how they would understand it. Because if I explain that, oh, it's submission wrestling, this they'd be like,
it's funny. They used to. Now it's known as no-gi jiu-jitsu, but back when we were competing, they had gi, right, and then they had submission wrestling. Is what they called it. Do you remember that?
What? Sorry, what do you mean?
So back when we were competing, when we were younger, right? At least at 2 of the tournaments that we went to, the no-gi competition wasn't no-gi jiu-jitsu. They called it submission wrestling.
Did they?
Yeah.
I know in Abu Dhabi, it's always been like ADCC. They always called it like submission wrestling.
Yeah.
Like that was a type of.
But I think
jiu-jitsu is a form of submission wrestling. But anyways.
Jiu-jitsu is a form of submission wrestling. But I think in a way, because jiu-jitsu people would go into the submission wrestling, and every once in a while an actual wrestler would show up. I think it was just a way for them to differentiate it, because people would be like, "What the hell's? Well, isn't jiu-jitsu the thing with the pajamas, the gi on, right? Isn't it that thing?
Yeah.
Like, they look like the Karate Kid, but they're rolling around on the ground. Isn't that jiu-jitsu?" It's like, well, yeah, this is jiu-jitsu too. Well,
yeah.
But what's the why aren't they wearing that? And people are like, submission wrestling.
Yeah, I think it was just a marketing thing. It was just simpler to explain it that way. Easy. Now it's like gi and no gi, but like submission wrestling is more associated with like ADCC.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
Like it's super heavy. I'm not sure if you know like the rule sets in ADCC, but it's like super heavy on the wrestling there.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to wrestle to do well, or at least your stand-up. You don't necessarily have to be a great wrestler, but your stand-up needs to be. You
gotta be up to.
They don't allow. I think you get negative points. Guard pulling.
I believe. I read
and
that.
I did.
You
get like negative points.
You get negative
points. Use negative points.
Stalling, and I think you do get minus a point if you pull guard. But there's some finesse on that. If it's like if I
attempt to take you down, you can quickly pull guard because it's considered he took me down. Like you can't just deliberately fucking pull guard. You don't want
fuck this up, but I think if you pull guard into a sweep, it's considered a takedown. I know what you're yeah. That's why I said
pulling guard take. Yeah,
pulling guard like you're pulling guard, but you're not just pulling guard into a static position. If you pull guard into some sort of sweep quickly, you don't get negative points for that. As long as you finish the takedown, right? As long as you finish the takedown, then you don't get. But if you just pull guard and grab the guy's arm and pull guard on top of you, and then you're on your back in a full guard, then you get negative points, I think.
Yeah, because something you do a flying armbar is kind of like pulling guard.
Kind of.
So like you get stalling points.
You do get stalling points.
But like problem with like now we're going on a different track here.
We moved completely left the topic. There's 2 positions I know you don't get points for quote unquote stalling. It's one is if you take the back, or 2 if you go to full mount. You can actually hang out in those 2 positions for 9 minutes, and it's on the person who is it's on the person who is now in the bad position to actually get out of it. But there's only those 2 positions where you get.
I'm not sure if that's the same rule applies to ADCC. They might get called for stalling. Nothing, but I know in IBJFF, whatever it is, BJJF, whatever my call it, they're like the biggest organization just because there's so many people that participate in it and stuff. But they have people like gamifying like the rules and stuff. Like guys will like, it's crazy. Like they will
the butt scoot.
Pass guard. Yeah, they're double butt scoot or like it's the worst. It's like everything that you would make fun about jiu-jitsu and everything that you would hate about jiu-jitsu and everything that you would not do in a real fight anywhere outside of jiu-jitsu.
I think we talked about that.
They allow the double guard pull, the hand grab, they clasp hands together. And they both double pull guard, and they realize, we both pull guard. They get back up and they pull guard. You seen that video where they just pulling guard? It's so bad. It's so embarrassing.
I think we talked about that before in the last cast too.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Both of you, because I'm pretty sure I did I talked about the demonstration about how bench pressing got gamified in powerlifting, so that you only had to move it. Super wide, super arched back. It was like. World record.
You fit a fucking basketball behind someone's arch.
And
what the fuck is that?
Yeah, and obviously ladies have a lot more mobility in the spine than men do. So you see these ladies pulling massive bench presses but it was only moving like
a 3-inch, 2-inch like rep range.
Like
it's
or
like
1 inch, like literally just like that.
Yeah.
No, and then they had to change the rules because
they changed it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. It's like
they changed the rules in 2020, late 2021, I think. So
yeah, they changed that.
So your elbows actually have to pass a certain distance.
Yeah,
you can't have
like
a distance in arms of something over the bar. I don't remember what
it
is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that
happens. That's going to happen in every rule set.
Yeah.
But I think that brings us back to how you progress your jiu-jitsu faster. Is you are gamifying your progression of a system, right?
Yeah, for sure. And even with, the whole, now we're going on another tangent, but it comes back to around, we'll come back to it. There's that whole ecological approach. You read about some of that stuff. It's a big new thing. And like they don't teach techniques. There's like different variations of ecological, I guess. Like but you go the hardcore way of ecological. They just play games. It's like, okay, make sure you don't, make sure you keep your this elbow and knee connection when you're on your back and frame out, whatever, that kind of stuff. But they won't teach actually specific moves, and then they keep playing games and like scenario, like jiu-jitsu, and like goal-based jiu-jitsu. I don't know all the terms, so like I don't want to get like crucified for getting the things wrong. But I see the value in that. But personally, I think you need to be shown and play games. And I think where I train, they sometimes do the ecological system. They have like task-based games. It's like, okay, your job as the guy, like you find a partner, take us back, and your job is not to get submitted, but this guy has control of your arm. Figure your way out from this and that kind of thing. And then that kind of thing, and then so on and so forth. Like there's people can have different objectives and stuff. I think that's better than just like pure ecological. Like we're only blue belts, but I feel like if you did that and told me to be like, okay, this row and then this is like they don't tell me anything what to do. Like they give me objectives. It's like, okay, don't let him pass your guard. Like do whatever it takes to. I don't know. Maybe I'm butchering. If that's the case, then I'm fucked. Like I'll just give up my back every day. He didn't pass half guard. He just took my back.
Technically, he didn't pass my half guard.
I'm just gonna give him the wrestler position every fucking time. Like it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be terrible. Like I'm gonna be frustrated. I need direction.
Yeah, I think we do something in between too, and that's what we call the positional rolling, where it's a game. It is a game between you and your partner, right?
Yeah.
Like when we trained on Friday, it was basically one of the positional rolls was your partner starts in turtle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they are going to let you. The person in turtle is going to let you take their back. You have to execute a series of movements to take their back. But once you've taken their back, you go, okay, go. Now you're doing an actual part of the roll where the person who has the back is trying to submit them and the person who's had their back taken is trying to escape, right? Now it's the do whatever you need to do scenario, right?
Yeah,
so it's like kind of in between, right? But again, it's not with no instruction either. Like we've already learned back escapes or, certain positional things like, well, if you don't want to get choked, your head should probably be below their head, right? Your head should be closer to the mat and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I think, though, if you are higher belt, I know they think it's like, oh, you should do that with like the white belts, but I think it's the ecological style where it's like all intuitive. I think that's better if you already have a base in jiu-jitsu. Like, say you're like
you have some knowledge.
Pretty decent blue belt. Yeah, blue belt, like blue belt or purple belt. And it's like, okay, I want to work on this ecological stuff. Like I have a series. I kind of know where I want to go. They already have a direction. It's not aimless. Like a true direction. Like I want to be good at this position. So I'm just gonna. I know like what I need conceptually, like what to do, what my goals are. Because I have a foundation already there. It's not like I'm making it up. Like and then work out from there. I think that would be better. But I think like the traditional way of showing random moves is the worst way. But if you're showing moves that chain together, like you do this, and then you show them 2-3 moves, and then you train on the static partner. But I think here's what I'm going with is that if you're in a place that allows it, I don't know why if a place doesn't allow this, then you should probably go to another place. Ask your training partner, get feedback. It's like, hey, when I did this, how did it feel opposed to like if I do it this way? That's how I'm getting better. It's like
one of the things I did with one of my partners in that scenario is he was trying to get the rear naked choke after we did the whole thing, and he couldn't get it because I'd moved my head into position where it he just wasn't going to choke me. So he was trying, and then eventually I escaped. But I basically said, "Hey man, can I show you one thing I learned about this? This if I move my head here and it's just not working, you can put your hands like this and do that, and yeah, it's not a rear naked choke, but I'm gonna tap to it because you're gonna feel like you're breaking my jaw, right? And it's just and then he does the same thing to me. He's like, well, hey man, if you move this here, and that's why I really like him. I'm not going to say his name, but I really like him as a training partner because you do those sort of little things, and it takes all of 5 seconds. Hey man, can just try that. And if you have a good working relationship with that individual, that's another thing that's going to progress your jiu-jitsu faster because you're going to make things tighter, right? You're going to be more open
you need to have
evaluation and advice.
Yeah. You can't be anti-social in jiu-jitsu. That's my belief. You need to go out there, and you don't have to be best friends, but it's like having good colleagues. You don't have to be friends with all your colleagues, but you need to have good colleagues in order to have a good work environment to make work productive.
You don't have to.
Same thing with jiu-jitsu. You don't have to show up each other's birthdays and shit.
Around and be like, "Hey, everybody, how you doing?"
But it's a work in progress. You're all doing the project of fucking motherfucking jiu-jitsu. So and you need to be in the mindset if he's better than me, I should ask him, and if I get better, he should be happy for me because it aggravates me. As I get better, if you want to get better, you want all your teammates to get better. Because if they get better, then you have to get better, or you get left behind. And I think that's the best way one of the best environments to be in, where everybody, I don't mind being, say that you have 100 students, I don't mind being 30th, 40th best student academy. Because if it's freaking janitor death squad and everybody's just you go on the comp and you're just murdering people, that means I'm the 30th best murderer in the comp. I'm okay with that. Okay, we're the best team out there and we're just killing everyone. And I'm in the middle of the pack with my own team. When I go out there, I'm one of the best. That's a victory for me. It's nobody in Delta Force is complaining being in the middle of the pack in the Delta Force. They're better than a regular jarhead. So because they're in Delta Force. I want to be the average Delta Force guy. I don't want to be best Army jarhead. No offense to them. I'm just saying, Tier 1, middle of pack of Tier 1 is levels above.
Tier 1 or Tier 2. You just got to remember that they're actually
be a recon Marine Tier 2, that kind of stuff. You want
the same skills, different objectives. Just anyways.
Yeah, Army Special Operations, I think that's Tier 1 too. But what I mean is I want to be at that level, not the entry level. If you want to be a big fish in a small pond, good for you, But that's not going to elevate you. So you're going to be very, very disappointed if that's what you want and you go to comp. You're going to be found out real quick because sharpen, when to sharpen,
iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron, and especially if everybody has the same goal. Truly, it is I want you to get better. If I want to get better, that means you have to get better, and it feeds into it's that closed loop system.
So and that's really important. When you said if I'm the 30th best murderer, I just had this concept of the FBI list, and it's you're number 30 on the FBI's most wanted list. I'm I'm on the list. Woo!
Yes, I'm on the list. I'm the 30th most wanted man on the FBI list. Interpol trying to get me. I'm fucking top tier. I'm okay with that. I don't need to be number 1. That's okay. Number 30 is good.
I'm still there. Dahmer, but man, I want to be in the top 30.
Yeah. Well, that's how I look at competition too. I'm 38. I'm gonna be 39 soon. So for me, I can be a Masters 2 or something. I think pretty soon. Right now, we're both qualified for Masters 1, and I already told you I don't want to be a Masters yet. I want to compete in the adult division. I'd rather come in 4th every single time. Never medal at every comp as long as I get to fight a few times. Right? I want to fight at least 3, 4, 5 times. If I never medal, yes, that would suck. But I'd rather be 4th or 3rd at the adult division every single time than win Masters Worlds every single year. I do not care about that because the guys I train with, they're in their mid-20s. And we're going head-to-head. So I'm not even at the point where I'm physically deficient that I can't keep up with these guys. And, man, I'd rather get my ankle broken by a 25-year-old stud than some 43 or 48-year-old guy who's an electrician training 3 times a week. Maybe that's what my ego is. It's not good. But man,
we'll see.
I'd rather get the snap by the second coming of Gordon Ryan. that would make me feel better. You're oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, fine. I'll accept that.
Because I want to compete against the best, right?
That's
how I look at it.
Set your goals, practice your intentions, and if you want to progress better at jiu-jitsu, be an axe murderer. End up number 30 on the list.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you do it. But think back to my point was that you like for the whole ecological thing, like if you're not a school that does ecological training or does the positional drilling, it's more traditional, so to speak, you can still work it. You just don't need to tell anybody. Or maybe you're lucky you got a couple of people who have the same mindset. Like, hey, when we roll, I'm only going to do this one damn bar pass. Okay, you okay with that? I said, okay. And the guy said, well, I'm only going to work on this one thing, maybe like half butterfly or like that kind of thing. And then you can work on that, even though it's like totally not what you were, shown earlier. And that's how what I did too, because like I remember I told myself once I solidified in my mind, it's like, okay, I'm going to do the front headlock stuff and guillotines first every single time. That's all I did, to the detriment of like winning. Like I will get submitted. It's like, oh wow, that was bad. Okay, now I learned. Then we go again. So if you kind of like curtail that ego, like, oh, I gotta win every row. Like I for the sake of learning. In the beginning, it was hard. It was like, okay, I was missing guillotines left and right, and then when I finally got it, then they would escape, and so I had to get better. And I'm just basically all the things I was watching, all the instructionals, all the little YouTube shorts, it was all about the front headlock system. And then it was so confusing at first. Now it's like very innate because I purposely, after 2.5 months, purposely put myself in a position to fail to get better. Because you need to have trial and error. If you want to be good at something, you need to do it. You'll probably fail unless you're a fucking stud, and then you'll find out, well, that was really shitty what I did, and then you think to yourself, like too many times people go to jiu-jitsu and you think my instructor has all the answers. Oh, yeah. It's like going to university. It's like, wow, my prof has all the answers. No, you need to go home and study, do the work, do the tests, do the assignments. That's exactly like jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, being your black belt in jiu-jitsu, being good at jiu-jitsu, is like getting a university degree. In the sense that you need to do work outside of jiu-jitsu, think about jiu-jitsu, be a little obsessive with it, at least parts of it, and then come back and practice. Fail your assignments, and then come back and redo it. The good thing about jiu-jitsu is that you keep not really fail if you keep trying. Yep. It's not like you're not paying $40,000 a year or whatever.
People get trapped in the same thing that their university profs have all the answers, and they think marketing is for the win. But that is a whole other conversation that we might have some other time. But you're absolutely right. Keep practicing, keep honing your skill trees, and yeah, just get on the mats, and which is what I got to get back to because I had a bit of a rough week, but I'll get there. Yeah. And even if you can't persist, 5 times in 1 week, it's okay. You'll get back on the mats, and you'll keep going. So persistence is key. Find your skill tree, and fail forward. So.
Yeah. Sure.
Right. On that note, thank you for watching another Oldhammer Podcast. My name is Sam. That's Gordon. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys.